the key to the success is the team you build, the resilience you build. This is a very historical moment, this 4 years, for us to concentrate both on health and social welfare. The AI is not going to replace the radiologist, but certainly is going to replace the one who doesn't use AI.
Hi everyone, welcome back to OncoDaily. Today it's a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome the Minister of Health of Albania, Professor Evis Sala. Thank you very much, Dr. Sala, for finding a time in your busy schedule and being with us today.
Thank you very much. It is a real pleasure for me to join you today.
I'll start with the first question. Who is on the photo? Please, can you explain to our auditorium? And what's special about it?
The man behind me is the photo of Ismail Jamali, who is the man who declared the independence of Albania in 1912, 28th of November, 1912. So coming up our national day, the National Independence Day.
I mean, you were recently appointed as the Minister of Health. Congratulations with that. But before going to that part, I would like to explore your early days in the medicine. Why did you choose medicine as a profession?
So it's a really interesting question. It kind of takes you back to the memory lane, which is something good that everyone has to do every so often, because you keep yourself grounded if you go through your memory lane. I wanted to be a doctor since day one, and I was so committed that the time you apply for medicine in Albania was a totally communist country. It's when I applied, and you could first of all, to go to medicine you had to get great results on your high school, but then you could choose only 3 options for university, and all of them what I chose was medicine. I guess I think I like the contact with the patient. I like making changes, and I like having impact. I like that the changes I, of course, with the team do have an impact on the patient and also on the wider society. So I think maybe I cannot explain I cannot go back to why since the age of 6 or 7 I wanted to do this, and since I was really little. Although I never play doctors, the adults with doctors and all the toys, which is interesting, that's what you expect. No, but medicine is something I always wanted to do. Retrospectively, I think because I believe in that health, approach to health is very holistic. So you cure with your tools, you cure with the medical devices, but you cure with your communication. So I think it's communication also key to curing diseases.
And then, how your early student days evolved, and then you choose the radiology, then specialized cancer imaging. Did a lot of studies abroad, worked there. I want to go through your career path.
So basically, I graduated in medicine from University of Tirana in Albania. And then I finished my training. Not many people know, but I almost finished my training 6 months short in general surgery, which retrospectively has given me a good decision, yes, no, as I don't sit on the fence usually, and that's a surgical approach. And then I won a WHO fellowship, World Health Organization fellowship in epidemiology and biostatistics, which was a field I was interested because at the same time I was helping create the first cancer registry in Albania. We're talking now 1996, so a good 30 years ago or so. So I won this scholarship, and then I got accepted to do the master's in epidemiology and biostatistics with the University of Cambridge, 96 to 97. I did well on my exams and the thesis, so I was offered a PhD. at the same field. And my PhD thesis, part of the master thesis, but also my PhD work was on breast cancer. So it was the various risk factors, including genetic risk factors for developing breast cancer, but also lifestyle factors as well as environmental factors like smoking and alcohol and dietary. So it's a very interesting combination which exposed me to some imaging, which was mammogram at the time, and a bit of genetics as well. It was a time when with the BRCA, the genetic mutations were really coming up, the early phases. And of course, Cambridge is a place when a lot of things are discovered. So it was a fantastic sort of 4 years of really discovering science. As I was there, I realized that I really liked radiology because I was part of my PhD was actually looking at scoring at the mammograms at the time on a not with AI, of course, because it was earlier, but it gave me during the master PhD, it gave me the high level statistics, which in a way or another was a precursor or prerequisite for then actually developing my AI work. I did a training in radiology in Cambridge then, so I applied. I joined radiology, and it was sort of what I wanted to be. But also I was very pleased because my father-in-law actually was the founder of radiology in Albania. So in a way or another, I had a bit of a family mission as well. So I finished radiology training in Cambridge, and then I went and did a fellowship, Oncology Research Fellowship at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, 2004-05. And then I got back to Cambridge as a university lecturer, which would be the assistant professor equivalent now, because the system has been changed. And then I grew through the ranks to senior lecturer. Grew my research as well, focusing mainly in oncology, but wider than breast. Actually, moving after my fellowship to more of the prostate cancer, the gynecological malignancies, with a focus on ovarian cancer, and then a lot of genomic work as well. Then I was recruited back to Memorial Sloan Kettering to lead the body imaging service, which was the largest service they had. And that was where I had a huge exposure on what we call now the integrated care. So how you can integrate imaging, genomics, pathology, and of course the whole rest of the medical data, and the first basis of AI. So that's why I started having my research group, the 3D molding, printing to look at the spatial heterogeneity of the tumors. And then I really worked with computer scientists as well. Then back in 2018, I was recruited back to Cambridge to co-lead the Cancer Research UK Cancer Imaging Centre at Cambridge, and as a full professor as well. So my first full professor was at Cornell Medical College because of the Memorial having their academic appointments there, and then in Cambridge in 2018 I came back as full professor. And as professor of oncological imaging, it was great because then I had a big group which did especially AI in oncology, not just engage urinary in an array of tumors, from screening to treatment response assessment using all the technologies that advanced technologies, including metabolic imaging, PET, hyperpolarized MRI, so all the available technologies. And really also focusing on translation of preclinical work into the clinical arena. And Cambridge was a perfect place to do that. So the other thing that Cambridge offered upon return was an exposure to the old AI maths. I had great collaboration with the Department of Mathematics in Cambridge, which was fantastic. Not only on cancer, because during the COVID pandemic, the lab that developed AI tools focused on cancer. To start with, we did a lot of development work on AI for COVID, COVID changes on chest X-rays and also on CT. So it was really a great experience. Then in 2022, I was asked to lead the Department of Radiology and Nuclear Medicine at Policlinico Gemelli in Rome, as well as being a full professor at Catholic University in Rome. A year after, I was then asked to lead the whole department of diagnostic imaging and radiotherapy, which included radiotherapy, nuclear medicine, diagnostic imaging, as well as hematology, hemato-oncology, and medical physics, where I worked until mid-September when I accepted this position. Along the line, I was exposed to more and more integrated care, more and more that we should look at a pathway rather than at a specific point in time, and we should integrate the data in order to deliver the care we want to deliver to the patients. So I look at it more on the ecosystem, the whole oncology, rather than on a specific modality or subspecialty. And I think I wrote a piece a couple of weeks back with one of my colleagues on the possible merger of pathology with radiology, and it was more to provoke the thought-provoking, rather than sort of really advocating for that, because I think we have to go towards the integration of the data in order to really make the precision medicine a reality. So this was my journey in lab. And one thing I want to emphasize, because I'm very passionate about it, it's one of the greatest joys I've had in my career is actually bringing up the new generation. It's been absolutely amazing to see the young colleagues really blossoming under the correct supervision, and you're making the change. In a way, I always say it, my success, it's actually through their success. Because they're successful, I become successful. So team is key, but you've got to look after the team. Having a team and leading a team, it's an honor, but more than an honor, it's actually an obligation. So you've got to do that well in order to really grow that young generation.
That's wonderful. I'm not surprised now. When I was talking with the colleagues from Albania, pediatric oncologists, they were so happy and encouraged with your appointment. When you are talking about your career path and about what you are doing, I'm not surprised why they're encouraged so much. What's the key to your success? You have been you started your studies in Albania, and then you became a major figure at the top institutions like Memorial Sloan Kettering, then Cambridge, then Rome, and then coming back and becoming the minister.
I think the key to the success is the team you build, the resilience you build, the fact that, when there's a challenge ahead of you, you just grasp it, and then you turn it into an opportunity, and looking back to learn, but not looking back to stop you to go forward, and really accept that sometimes things don't go the way you plan it, but find solutions. Something I say to my team, I've always said it, that is something I haven't invented. You're always a product of people who actually taught you well and mentor you well. So I've had wonderful mentors. So it's one of the things I say, there's always going to be problems. So I want you to come to me with problems, but I want you to come to me with at least 2 solutions that you think are applicable for each problem. And it might be that we find a 3rd solution, but I was taught, so that's how I teach the others, to really think positively and find solutions rather than being on the complaining, nagging way all the time. So I think, and genuinely, I think I have a big heart. So I like nurturing and mentoring, especially the youngest, but I also stand by them. So mistakes are going to happen. They have to try. Without mistakes, there's no way forward. But I also have the back. So you look good when you're young, when your team performs, but also you have to take the hit when something goes wrong. So
since you started talking about your mentors, this was my next question. Who are your mentors?
So I've had several mentors in my life, and in terms of professionally, and then I have had great supporters. So I want to talk about both of them, both both categories because it's important. It's work and it's home, and they're very, very important. You can't have one and the other doesn't support, especially if you move around like I've moved. So starting with the work mentors, I think my Nicholas Day, which was the professor of epidemiology and biostatistics and the head of the Institute of Public Health in Cambridge, he was my first mentor. He was absolutely excellent. I mean, I was coming out of Albania with not much of a statistics training, and he really allowed me the space, the creative environment for me to show what I was good at. I couldn't believe when he asked me that, you've done so well in your exams, would you want to continue here in Cambridge and do a PhD? He really gave me the confidence that not that I was missing, but you move to another country with a small child, everything is different. Come from so great person, great mind, a mathematician by background, an Oxford mathematician, Oxford trained mathematician. Then Ruth Warren was a radiologist I worked with, and she was a great mentor and a strong female figure, which taught me resilience. So she always said, you look forward, there are going to be really tough times during your life, during your career, but you just look forward. So she's really, she was the role of a tough, but very stable and supportive woman, colleague. And she really she really infused the radiology back to me. During the radiology training, I had two great mentors. Adrian Dixon, which was the head of department, an amazing figure. And I learned a lot from him. I learned the fact that you work with, I learned a lot of mentoring skills from him. And I also learned that, you only claim and you only put your name in the papers that you have worked with. So there was no guest authorship on his, he was really fantastic, and in a way how transparent he was. So he was a great person to have as a role model. Then the whole of research on MRI, which is and the metabolic field, then it was David Lomas, again, a luminary from Cambridge, when I learned that part. Moving to US, I was very lucky to work with Hedy Risak, which was the head of department, and then, Presta Varisane and a lot of other sort of, she was inspirational, tough. Oh my God, how tough she was. But I learned, she was the one to say, you got to be resilient. And I built resilience along the way. And she's been here for me now, every so often. Sometimes I send her a text and I will just say, look, I need your help. I need your, I need your opinion. And she's there, but just only a WhatsApp message away. So, and I've had a good mentor also coming back to Cambridge, Richard Gilbertson, which was who was the head of the director of the Cancer Center and the head of the Cancer Research Institute in Cambridge. Brilliant mind. That's where we had all our project of integrated care, integrated cancer medicine. So it was really wonderful to have someone to really have those level discussions. In a way, what has also been great is it's been a lot of collaborations with industry and with other departments in Cambridge or elsewhere have been. So it broadened my sort of perspective of how the clinical work and research should actually work together, and this is really key. Now, last but not least, has been my family. So I'm very, very lucky. So I have a wonderful husband, with whom. I really owe a lot because he has really been there, and whenever I said, well, we have an offer to go, and he would say, let's go. So he's a surgeon, I've just retired, but who didn't put his career on hold. He had his career in the UK, but to a certain extent took a step back and let me have my full blossom career. And that's not something to take it lightly. We have a wonderful son, now a bioinformatician at Sloan Kettering, who has also been wonderful and really a joy to have. Not that a mother would actually speak otherwise for, but really I'm very happy that in one or another he continued the tradition without being a doctor per se, but really combining maths and biology in an innovative way. And of course, my parents, both my mother and father, I think they're wonderful. And to end, my brother, who is an artist, so comes with completely different point of view. But we both do imaging. I do the scientific part and the functional part, and he does the more of an art, imaging with art and creative. So we have different creative, angles when it comes to imaging.
And who are your mentees?
Oh gosh. Well, a lot of them, and it's really wonderful. I feel so privileged when I go, especially to big conferences, right? Big conferences, to see so many of my mentees, ranging from when I started mentoring them, from medical students to radiologists to oncologists. As a matter of fact, since I've worked in the sort of intersection of specialties, I have a lot of non-medics, computer scientists, because I always said to them, you don't develop AI because you like developing an algorithm. You find a problem and you develop something to resolve the problem. Otherwise, whatever you develop is going to remain in the shelf forever. And in fact, that was true when we published that in one of the Nature journals. When we reviewed the first 300 algorithms published on chest X-ray during COVID-19 to detect changes. None of them reached clinical practice because none of them had worked actually in a close collaboration with clinicians. They're all taken the chest X-rays off the web and just developed something. So it's a range of, I think my son is one of them. Also, he says, a lot of friends. I think all the teams have worked, including, it goes from the SSM medical students to my secretaries, as a matter of fact. So I like mentoring in any way I can to anyone that needs my mentoring, So I'm very open to mentor. But especially young women, which sometimes find it difficult to actually progress. I think I'm an example of progressing, completely preserving my integrity in many, many countries. And you really need to be loyal to yourself, know yourself well, be resilient, and also accept that sometimes you will get hurt, but then you bounce back. And then you take that as an opportunity to maybe change so that's the way to go forward.
I mean, you have built an incredible career, but I'm sure there were a lot of challenges. What was your recipe for overcoming these challenges?
Resilience. Challenges came. I tried to resolve them. There were times that something doesn't work, I went back again. So I'm very resilient by nature, and I'm very focused. So you focus, you take you choose what you want to do. You cannot do everything. One thing I always say it's okay when you start and you explore the field, when you train, that's absolutely fine, because you have to really choose what to do. But once you've chosen your path, obviously you'll be open to changes and to advancement in the field you are. That's obvious. But then stay focused. You can't spread thin. You have to stay focused, and you choose your objectives. Also, I always, especially when you have a managerial, I always write my 100 days, what I want to achieve, my 6 months, my 2 years, and my 4 or 5 years on the position you are, and really try to really prioritize. And also, meet with your team. It's really important to communicate with your team and not to lose touch with reality.
So now coming back to your ministry, then what are your priorities as the Minister of Health for the 100th day, for the 6 months, and in general?
So actually I have the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, which is a huge portfolio. It's not just the health. Right. So starting with the health side, my main, there are three big projects or goals, and of course they'll have sort of long-hanging fruits and more intermediate and more long-term. Because if I were to say that in 3 months, 2 months I've been here, I've sorted out, then nobody would believe that, would it? So. But oncology is one of them. I've tried to match the goals with my expertise as well, because it is really important to do that, because then you maximize what you can achieve. As simple as that. So oncology, it's one of them. We, of course, need to improve the cancer services in Albania. So one thing I'm going to create, which it's in the making, so that will be in the next 6 months for sure. It's the Albanian Cancer Network with the Oncology Institute in the center, which will also happen in the next year. But with a network, so we can decentralize the cancer care. So we bring cancer medicine education to the patient, and not the patient to the medicine. Of course, that will come with the standardization of all the protocols, and then with hopefully paving the way in a more of a 2 years time for new clinical trials. So in Albania, we can create the capacity to actually also do clinical trials. So that's oncology in one sort of big arena. Then the second one, it's the diagnostics. Really, again, this comes from my expertise building diagnostics everywhere I've been in different scales, that is. But building a diagnostic system which is integrated very well throughout the country. I think Albania is 2.4 million, right? It'll be like a big city, not even a big city. Some of the big cities are, over that as a figure. So Albania can actually have, and will have, and again, this will have at this little bit more longer term, a unified sort of diagnostic system. So that's also efficiency, increase the efficiency, so you don't have to repeat everything. It's all integrated. And the third, which goes with both in a way, cancer and diagnostics, is actually the AI and digital. So what we want to do is actually create an integrated core backbone system that integrates various sort of various systems, and they're interoperable. Again, this will have more of a short-term, mid-term, and long-term. In the short-term, what we have done, we are improving some of the conditions, some of the protocols in the oncology, because in 2 months, it's you cannot change everything. But also, by the end of the year, beginning of next year, we will definitely have a mapping of those 3 big areas and actions of how to really start addressing them with appropriate teams, planning the funding, because you plan the funding ahead. So those are the 3 challenges in health. Of course, we need to absolutely do more in the social welfare. We've got a great team there with a lot of collaboration with the international organization, the UN, the UNICEF, a lot of initiatives with the EU. As Albania is preparing to enter EU in 2029, this is a very historical moment, this 4 years, for us to concentrate both on health and social welfare, to really bring Albania to the level of the youth. We're working a lot on the legislation part, especially with the social welfare, to actually really align it with the EU.
Yeah, very nice. What about are there any pediatric oncology? I will take this opportunity to ask you pediatric oncology plans.
Yes. So when I said oncology, this also includes the pediatric oncology, includes the liquid malignancies as well. So everything, and actually we've got some very, very good people working on, professional as doctors working on that oncologists. So what we're doing, that will be part of the National Cancer Network. And the 3 centers under the sort of the umbrella of an institute in Tirana will be the hemato-oncology, pediatric oncology, and the oncology in general. Now a little bit introducing the idea of subspecialty, because if you think the hemato-oncology is by itself a little, already a subspecialty, and so is pediatric oncology, but the rest of oncology in Albania is still not specialized. So I want to introduce there is space for a general oncologist, but now the world is going towards subspecialization. So what I want to do is actually start thinking of cancer treatments that oncologists specialize in GI, gastrointestinal or breast or because then of course you become the integrator of the data, and you can plan better. So that's the.
I mean, I'd like to take on your opinion also about like how you are going to integrate also and like bring research part of this, because you have a big research experience, how you are going to integrate more research into the healthcare system.
So I think this is probably the most challenging part. So I'm going to follow two ways in a way. As we start into research, it's not going to come immediately now. It's not the shorter term, because as we both know, you need the data for the interoperable systems in order then to use that for research. So that will build the capacity along with making our systems, integrating our systems. We are going to encourage a lot of AI spin-offs to come to Albania actually, and to work with us, because we will create a country-level unique data set, which is quite a Mediterranean specific. So with the lifestyle, with in terms of the pattern of disease as well. So that is one route. The other route is actually to start applying for grants. So I have got a very good experience of applying for grants. So I want now to start introducing Albania to some of the EU initiatives, like the IHIs. There are some we're not eligible because we're not a EU member, but there are some we can, slowly introduce ourselves in order to then progress. And then of course I like those kind of grants because they form consortiums, so it's an exposure. So, and that's where you start having your collaborations, and before you know, actually, then there is attraction. So those are but it won't come. That's not an immediate 3 months or 6 months. This will be sort of more on a second year.
You touched several times the AI. I mean, I'm going to certainly ask this question as an imaging specialist. Like, what do you think in the future? Are we going to have radiology as a specialization, or it's going to kind of disappear within the arms of the AI?
I think, if I had to reimagine myself now, not in the future, it's like with the AI sort of taking over, I think the radiologist will be a bit more of an orchestra conductor. You'll sort of orchestrate, various AI. So I don't think, Jeffrey Hinton was wrong, and it was proved to be wrong, as we know, despite his Nobel Prize and his brilliant mind, But the AI is not going to replace the radiologist, but certainly is going to replace the one who doesn't use AI. So what I always say to the young generation, and this is going to be for oncology in general as well, anything, if you don't know how to use AI, if you don't use AI, you're obsolete.
I remember the same quote I got from Lillian Su, AACR president. Well, I think it was 2 years ago I was interviewing her. It was exactly the same words.
It shows, it's it's great because a lot of things that we're not interested, or what it's not, you're interested in all the imaging, but a lot of things that become a boring task, a repetitive task, which tires you. And who wants to count lung nodules anymore, or how many, everything will be done AI integrated. But then you've got to, and maybe we will reach there with a lot of development of AI to actually. But I think what I am envisaging in a few years, when I don't know, is a diagnostician. I think we will see the merge of some of the subspecialties to create a diagnostician. It could come from pathology, from radiology, but I think we have to really think of how we train the future generation. Certainly, we need to change the way we train, and even from the medical school.
Coming from a small country, and I have this experience as well. In general, I think we have that feeling that, small country, you are coming from a small country, what the small countries can give to the world. Although it's not like that, but your perspective coming from a small country, what's your ambition on the global scale?
You mean what's the ambition for my country on the global scale, or what's my ambition on the global scale?
You can answer the way you want.
Well, I don't think being a Minister of Health was my ambition at all, to be honest. Health and social welfare was my ambition at all. It was something that when I was asked to do, of course, I felt very honored. I had to think hard and a lot. And I accepted it, not because this would be a pinnacle of my career, because I think I already had the pinnacle of my career and more, but because this was a chance to give back. And maybe to use my know-how too, because, it's not I'm using just a bit of radiology, a bit of that, I'm using my whole 29 years of 30 years and more of my career in various countries, various health systems, various, situations to actually make a difference at the country level. And that is something that doesn't come by every day, not to everyone. So that is something that was the and if I cannot change everything, and not everything is to change, but you always want to progress. But if I have to leave some legacy, the legacy would be on those 3 areas. If I make a difference, and with the team, of course, in oncology, digital AI, diagnostics, that I would have done a good job. So on my personal plan, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do in how many years this job will last. It's a 4-year term, but I think right now, maybe I don't miss radiology immediately as much. But I think because it's a lot of adrenaline in this new job, and I really love, one thing I forgot to say, I really love learning new things. It's just, I get fascinated by anything new, and I get really, I have a lot of energy, and I think, and it's great because I can use it for good, and it is always positive energy. So I always say it is always a yes, and then you try to sort of work towards it. And sometimes things don't happen for various reasons, but it's a yes approach, positive approach, which is important. So for me, I don't know what's next. Maybe we definitely include some radiology, but I'm happy. I'm happy with my career. I'm happy that I can help. I'm very blessed with a wonderful family. So what better?
That's wonderful. What would be your advice for the younger generation?
I think very important in life to have a good mentor. That has helped me, especially if you move. And I think for the younger generation, you've got to see the world. Okay. It was a big deal when I went and did my fellowship at Sloan Kettering, because I had an 11-year-old. When I did my training, I had a 4-year-old. So it's tough, especially in a family. But and that was then. Now times have changed. But see the world. Don't stay in the same place. You learn so much. You learn what you're supposed to learn in your field. But you also learn to adapt yourself to various situations. You learn resilience, because wherever you go, you have to start proving yourself again. I remember I went from Cambridge to Sloan Kettering, but the clinicians there had never worked with me, so I had to start to prove myself again. And that was good. That kept me on my toes. It was good, because once you've done that, you know that you have confidence. Lack of confidence is something horrible, because if you have a chip on your shoulder, if you lack confidence, your character starts changing. You just become not you. And that hasn't happened to me and will never happen to me. But being nice and being humble, it's different to being underconfident. Two things that are completely different. Right? Being humble, usually when you are confident and you're knowledgeable, you're humble. So, but the advice is build up resilience, go and see the world, go and see how things are done, well or not well, at another place. I learned from a lot of things which I thought weren't done great in other places, and they weren't done great, but I learned to identify them and how to correct them or not do them that way in another place. So go and see the world, choose good mentors, call hard, but raise fast and steadily, and enjoy the experiences in life. You really want to say, what a life I've had, and I can say that, what a life I've had so far. And who knows what comes, I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my life.
Thank you so much. It was really enjoyable. And I'll ask my last question, which I usually ask to all my guests. Why should interview next?
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Why should interview next?
Who you should interview next? gosh, she caught by me by. You know what? I know you interview. I'm not going to choose one of 100 women, right? And it's something different. I think someone much earlier in a career than me, but someone who has sat in that intersection between, let's say, oncology and AI, or computer science and medicine. I mean, somebody which is a rising star in this time of changes, AI, technology, digital, and how have they sort of adopted and moved forward and kept in the leading edge? Because sometimes because that interview will give the younger generation a little bit more sort of, oh yeah, this is happening now. When I talk about it, a lot of people get enthusiastic, but they will also say, well, okay, I mean, she's talked about the last 30 years and, it is easy at the time. I can tell it wasn't easy as a woman as well, in all those societies, small country, female. They were not, and with a small child, they were not an easy thing, an easy start.
For sure.
But I think experience is coming, although shorter as they would be, from a young person, which really, really is build that kind of resilience to a smaller scale. I think will be very, very, very useful. Or someone which is set in the intersection of medicine and art. I mean, I think the COVID time had, or some other conditions. I don't want to call them diseases. Has shown that art and medicine can heal together. Something which is different.
Thank you so much. It was really very inspirational, and I'm sure everyone is going to love this interview. Thanks a lot.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.